Hey guys, what's going on? It's Louis here, and I have a really exciting video for you guys today. I'm going to be checking out Xiom's two newest products, Vega X or Vega 10, and also Omega 7 Hyper. Now, I'm specifically excited to give Omega 7 Hyper a review because according to a couple of the guys that got their hands on this early, this is the fastest rubber on the market today out of any table tennis brand. So I'm pretty excited to check that out. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a rundown of all of the specifications of both of these rubbers. Then I'm going to go ahead and open them up, put them on my paddle, cut them, and see how they play. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Alright, so let's go ahead and start by talking about Vega X or Vega 10. It's called Vega 10 because it's Xiom's 10th anniversary rubber. And what makes this rubber unique is one, it's the successor to one of Xiom's other most popular rubbers, Vega Pro. And two, it's using very high-end technology. It's using Elastofutura cycloid, which is the same technology that is used in Xiom's Omega 7 series. So this almost feels like a bridge between the Vega series of rubbers, which are generally aimed at more amateur level players, and the Omega 7 series, which is aimed at more semi-professional or professional players. So with this rubber, similarly to Vega Tour almost, except this is a little bit harder, you're getting very good performance, the latest technology, but at a very reasonable price. So on paper, this is pretty much the same as Vega Pro, with the difference just being in the technology used. Of course, Vega Pro is an older rubber, so it uses classic Vega technology. I forget what Xiom calls it, but this using Elastofutura cycloid, which is very springy, means for the price you're getting very good performance with this rubber. It's also worth pointing out that just like with Vega Pro, Vega 10 is supposed to have a very high throw angle, at least that's what Xiom's told me. So when I test that, I'll make sure to be looking out for that, see how deep the ball's going onto the table compared to with my other rubbers, see how high it's coming off my paddle. Because part of the appeal of Vega X is supposed to be that you're not going to be dropping loops into the net. They're always going to be going high over the net, deep onto the table. So I'm curious to see how this is going to play. Alright, let's go ahead and check out the rubber that I'm sure you guys are the most excited about, the Omega 7 Hyper. And before I go into too many specifications, it's worth pointing out that this is the 55-degree version of the rubber, and there is also a 60-degree version of the rubber. The only version available to the public as of now is the 55-degree version, and there might be a 60-degree version coming out publicly within the next few months or so, maybe longer, maybe shorter. Not really sure, but for now we only have the 55-degree version, which is already an extremely hard rubber. 60 degrees is just going to be off the charts. That might actually be the the hardest rubber on the table tennis market as well. So that'll be very interesting to try out in the future. I got a chance to hit a couple balls with this rubber about 6 months ago when Xiom came down to let us try some new products. And I will say that I remember this rubber being ridiculously fast. I think I played a forehand drive and it was like 3 feet off the end of the table. So I do believe it when people say that this rubber is faster than 05 Hard, faster than Dignix, and I'm looking forward to trying it myself. You can get this rubber in 2.1 millimeter thickness or max thickness. I've opted for the max thickness version of the rubber. Xiom is calling this the world's first hybrid rubber, and that has confused a few people because most people interpret hybrid rubber as meaning tacky top sheet and kind of your standard tensor or spring sponge, something like Golden Tango or Tenergy 09C or Vega China. That's kind of what people think of when they think hybrid rubber, but this actually has a normal top sheet. It's not tacky, it's just very grippy. So my guess is what they meant by hybrid rubber and like Chinese playing characteristic is that the sponge is what makes it a hybrid rubber, not the top sheet. And that's because it's got a very dense, very hard, very thick sponge, similar to the sponges you might see on Chinese rubbers. So that's just my guess. Maybe it just got lost in translation, but this is not a tacky rubber. It is just a standard tensor rubber. And with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and open these rubbers up and see how much they weigh. Now, I will say I'm pretty curious about how much this weighs, because just from holding it in the unopened package, it feels extremely heavy. I haven't actually looked at the official weight of this rubber, but just holding it next to the Vega X, it almost feels double the weight of the Vega, which is very, very surprising. So yeah, let's see how much this rubber weighs uncut. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. And of course, Xiom's packaging, as always, is top notch. They do a really, really good job of making their products look good. The product design is just always, always really good. And you can see there's some more about Omega 7 Hyper, the technology used, and now here's the rubber. So let's go ahead and take this out and put it on the scale and see how much this weighs. Okay, so uncut, this is coming in at 79 grams. And actually something very, very interesting is this sponge, it's so dense that you almost can't even see the pores. It definitely reminds me more of a Chinese rubber sponge than a tensor. I can put this up close to the camera. The sponge looks more like a rubber than a sponge. It's so thick, you cannot see the pores. It almost like just blends with the rubber. And of course, it's Xiom's classic jet black sponge. So very, very interesting. So now let's go ahead and see how much the Vega 10 weighs. All right, let's go ahead and rip open the Vega 10 or the Vega X. Okay. Here is the rubber. And in terms of how it looks like your kind of typical Vega rubber. Nothing too extraordinary. It does say VX on the very right, but it looks high quality. All right, let's go ahead and weigh the Vega X, see how much it comes in at. And I'm expecting this to be significantly lighter than the Hyper. So this will be interesting. Let's see. And yeah, that comes in at 71 grams. So now it's down to 70. Almost an entire 10 grams lighter than the Omega 7 Hyper. Actually, now it's at 69. So over 10 grams lighter than the Hyper. All right, let's go ahead and get these rubbers glued up. I'm going to be using Xiom's Power Click glue to stick these rubbers on, and I'm probably going to put one thick layer of glue on each rubber before I stick them to my paddle, which is going to be my backup blade, which is a Yola Nobilis blade. It's a pretty typical 3+2 ZLC blade. I might actually do a review on this blade sometime in the future. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so I've gone ahead and finished up gluing the entire setup. As you can see, I've got Hyper on one side and Vega X on the other side. And now I really have a chance to really feel how hard these rubbers are. And if I push my thumb down on the Vega X, it feels like a pretty hard rubber, as you would expect from a 47.5 degree sponge. But then you push your thumb down on the Hyper and it just doesn't move. There's almost no give. It's ridiculously hard, which actually makes me wonder what the 60 is going to feel like. But enough talking, let's go ahead and get onto the courts, and I'm going to see how this setup plays.